getting it out, and then that it's out, it's not trapped inside anymore. It's released, and I can let go of it. And letting go is probably the biggest part of our time together, was me learning how to let all of these things go, and not just creating this ball of fire and cancer that was probably eating me from the inside. I've prevented that from growing or manifesting itself entirely. Over a year ago, I had a lot of issues with keeping things to myself and not communicating properly. I harnessed a lot of hard feelings for my spouse for issues that were 10, 15 years ago. And those things, by not communicating, not telling that story and reliving that story, I was unable to see things from his perspective, because I was constantly, oh, I know how he's going to react, and not giving him the benefit of the doubt that he has grown as a human being in 15 years. He's grown in 10 years. Those issues that we had, he is no longer himself that same person. And so I was able to release a lot of the old patterns by letting it out, letting it go. But also, while letting it go, letting the words out, realizing how silly it sounded, because I didn't recognize the person I spoke of, because he was no longer that person. But I was continually holding that in and using it as, well, he's going to communicate this way, and this is how he will react. And so the pattern was, I reacted in a bad way when he's a different person and I'm a different person from when we went through those issues back then. I communicate better, not only with myself, because now I'm letting things out in the open. I'm letting it all air out. I'm saying the words, even if I'm by myself, I'm saying how I feel. And like I said earlier, putting it out into the universe. And when it's out, it's gone from in here, from the pit of my stomach, and I can be fresh-faced and ready for a proper conversation and a fair argument, fair conversation, instead of relying on old information to determine what the outcome of this argument or conversation will be. So it's out with the old and in with the new info. So now I can approach a conversation, an argument, even if it's nonverbal, I can communicate better because I'm now fully aware of where we are now in the moment, because we're no longer in the past. The past is gone, and I can live now in this moment, whether it's a tough moment because it's an argument, or it's a great moment when we're just making out in the kitchen. We spoke on issues about just anxiety, generalized anxiety that I have on a daily basis, and using the tapping method, using the type of breathing and speaking it aloud, putting it out in the universe is extremely helpful. And I do that now, even in my meditation practice, or even when I'm sitting in my office at work, when I'm planning something, or the next step in getting over an issue, by speaking it aloud. And you taught me that, getting it out, and then that it's out, it's not trapped inside anymore. It's released, and I can let go of it. And letting go is probably the biggest part of our time together, was me learning how to let all of these things go, and not just creating this ball of fire and cancer that was probably eating me from the inside. I've prevented that from growing or manifesting itself entirely. So 15 years ago, starting a new relationship, a marriage, doing what we thought we should be doing. We were, constantly on each other, touching, having sex all the time. What do you do when you're 21, 22 years old and you're freshly married? But our communication was very poor. So a lot of the things, not being able to communicate properly, I stuffed it, just stuffed it deep inside. That those words probably aren't the best words. Talking about sex and stuff. Okay, so new in a relationship, new in a marriage. Of course, so much of it is physical and not so much verbal. And so over the years, a lot of the communication skills that I was lacking caused our relationship to get stale. And so, we are parents, and, the lust is still there for each other, but it has to be timed. You have to set a little moment in time together. And is the kid asleep, or do you have sitters? Is it a good time? As time goes by, just in any relationship, you get used to each other. And when you have a strained relationship like we had, it was very difficult, not only not being able to communicate, but we weren't being physical. We weren't understanding each other's love languages. And then after going through these sessions and me being able to communicate and get all of these things out in the open, not only am I a fresh new person, I have fresh new eyes to see him with. And it is like a brand new relationship. We've got public displays of affection that have been lacking in the past. We are very sensual. Not only are we physical beings, we're physical with each other, but the communication being there, it is such a deeper relationship than it's ever been. Not only are we each other's best friends and lovers, but we also have such a deep connection. We are closer to melding into one being than we've ever been. It's the best way to describe it, I think. We understand each other so much better. And when that happens, when you understand each other, you can understand each other in the bedroom better too, which is a plus. Juicy fact. And it feels like a fresh new thing with your best friend, which honestly is the best thing, because you're not starting over with a brand new person, and that's scary. You're starting over with your spouse, with your best friend. So it's the opposite of scary. It's joyous and wonderful and full of new, exciting things that you haven't really developed or had your eyes open enough to be able to see before. So I'm so grateful for this opportunity to get to know my spouse better, to get to know each other better, in not only physical ways, emotional ways, but in our communication skills. We had to have it's a deeper relationship than I thought we could ever have. I thought was even possible to have with another human being. And I had a giant wall up. So my expectations were not very high. And now this has exceeded my expectations with my spouse. That is no longer a worry. No longer am I scared that I have now pushed him so far away that it's irreconcilable. We are closer now than we were at the beginning of our relationship, but closer in the best kind of way, because we are mature adults, but we also are in a mature relationship that we can be immature with each other. And it's fun. It's fun again, but it's fun times 1,000.